Alright guys, so this is gonna be the start of a series I'm doing where I'm gonna go through a interview process, slash podcast, whatever you want to call it, with successful, profitable traders that I know and I am in contact with. I'm gonna ask them questions, their advice on how to help beginners, and yeah, it'll be a good little session.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, Momo? How you doing?
Good, thank you.
How was your training today?
I went pretty well. Just took one reject on Tesla and got 4 points out of it. So,
Nice, nice. Okay, so I'm gonna start a little series on YouTube where I'm gonna go through all the profitable traders that I'm in contact with and hopefully get contact with bigger names as well. Obviously, you're one of the more successful people I know in the day trading space. Um, I guess we can start off with your name. So Momo, everyone calls you that. Obviously, that's your slogan, your little whatnot. So you've been trading for how long?
um, I first got exposure to markets, I think I want to say around 2017. Just when I was in college, everyone's looking to make like a little money on the side. So I sort of took not a very serious interest, but I took a casual interest in trading things. Just your basic SPY, QQQ, things like that. Maybe a couple of shares of Apple here and there, but that's when I started to learn about leveraged products, namely options. And the more I studied them, the more I realized, oh, there's a lot of money to be made here if you're able to like master option trading.
Hmm.
Uh, and ever since then, 2017, I was in college, took a casual interest. And I'd say around 2020 is when I really started to like sit down and say, hey, let's make a plan here. Let's see if we can make something out of this and, give it a serious shot. And of course, that coincided with the huge market reaction from COVID. First, very down, then very sharply in the opposite direction. And that was an excellent time to get started as a trader. I was one of the lucky ones. I always tell people, oh, I had beginner's luck
For sure.
because I was able to take advantage of like that huge move in both directions. But
That's when all the major liquidity and just that volume was that prime 2020. And especially if you got in before that and started learning, you took advantage of that for sure. Because everyone started kind of trading around there. I started trading in 2021, so I kind of
yeah,
was in the hype a little bit, but definitely 2020 was definitely the year.
yeah, just seeing like the amount, like the value of these options being able to, you know, just because they're leveraged, their value
Hmm.
being able to like shoot up so many times or absolutely turn to dust, it made me respect options, but it also made me aware of the
Hmm.
danger of how someone can get into serious trouble really quickly
For
trading
sure.
them.
So I
I
want
just
this to be directed and obviously um, to educate beginners. When you started, did you think you needed a lot of capital to make a lot of money in the stock
no,
market?
I started with around $164 or $170, so no, you don't need a lot of money to get started.
Were you able, did you add on to that amount or did you kind of just trade up from there?
I made one deposit after that, $2,000. That was when I started on Robinhood, and I didn't need to make another deposit ever since.
How long did you trade on Robinhood?
Say I traded on Robinhood for about 6 months. That was sort of like where I started to learn how to trade options, what an option
Hmm.
was, how they move, the Greeks, etc., etc.
Hmm. Okay. Was trading harder than you expected it to be, or did you kind of have? Because there's a lot of people that kind of go in with that ego mentality that they're gonna instantly
Yeah,
be professional right off the bat.
yeah. I think a lot of people underestimate the the severity of the learning curve when it comes to trading options. It can be incredibly rewarding really fast, but it can equally be incredibly damaging just as quickly. So it definitely is very hard. It's not something that's going to you know, make you a celebrity overnight, but if you're patient with it and if you're persistent, um, and believe that you can do it and not give up, then it's definitely a life changing skill to have trading options.
All right. Did you ever think that you're gonna be able to make this like a reality for yourself?
No, I was in college studying electrical engineering, and I was pretty, dead set that this is what was going to be my, how I make my money. I always wanted to have like a business on the side, but I feel like many people have that idea, but they can never settle in on just one thing. But as I kept trading options, I realized, okay, I'm making a lot of money and there's hardly any overhead if you count commissions as overhead. So why not just make this my business and just get really good at this? And luckily I was able to, and I made life-changing amount of money in just, I would say, a 2 years. So, you know,
Do you think
yeah,
having
there's a
the
lot.
mentality of going into the market with not expecting to make any type of profit is better than going into the market with, like I gotta make this amount of money every single day and I gotta make this, make a million in a year?
Yeah, I don't have any expectations from the market, I'll say, but um, I have been doing this long enough and successful enough to the point where I'm confident I'll be able to make money. I don't have a goal per se, but I know I'll make a decent amount of money. I'm just confident in my skills at this point to say that. I'm not going to say, I'll make $30,000 every single day, but I can be successful. That's my mentality.
All right. Another thing too is like a lot of people think like you gotta be the smartest and the brightest and you gotta have a lot of obviously a lot of capital like we talked about, but all this knowledge to become like successful in the market. And a lot of people think like, like oh the market's rigged and like oh it's gambling. Like do you think anyone realistically can be successful no matter like what background they come from?
Yes, it's very possible if you humble yourself and really come to option trading as a student and think of yourself as a student. You can absolutely be successful if you're persistent. Um, you can be successful if you know how to regulate your emotions when it comes to the rodeo trading options. Then you can be successful. All those things are, I feel like, ingredients to becoming a successful trader. There's nothing special about me. I'm not the smartest person in the world. Um, I'm not like the most courageous when it comes to trading options, but I have enough of those in a good enough level to the point where I can trade options successfully.
True. I mean I think you're undervaluing yourself here. I mean you trade like 50 to 100 option contracts. But anyways.
Yeah, I mean, just time, just experience.
So obviously, with everyone, I think everyone experiences beginner's luck. Um, Maybe not like right off the bat, but you know, I think beginner's luck happens before your first year, in between that range. Would you say when you first like hit your first major like rough patch in trading, maybe like more of like a drought where you're just kind of not taking losses, but you're not making a lot of profit? Would you say that kind of like discouraged you at all? Or would you say you're kind of balanced by then? Like you already kind of knew how it is with trading, kind of understand the market conditions and whatnot, the
Um,
cycles.
I'll say I'll say that I did feel like, success came in waves sometimes where I'd be really doing really hot for a while, but then all of a sudden the things that I used to do suddenly aren't working anymore. I think I'm grateful for that experience because it led me to become more adaptable. So there's no market condition, I think, in my opinion, that it's going to throw me off. I know very well when to be adaptable, and I'm pretty good at this point at picking up when sentiments change, when strategies should evolve. I don't think anything is going to throw me off at this point, but it took me a lot of time to get here. Maybe a couple of years ago, uh, if market sentiment started to change, for example, I would be stuck doing the same thing and it wouldn't work, and I would be a little disappointed things weren't working, but overall, I would be determined to learn how I should adapt my strategy or what I used to do. doesn't work anymore.
Okay. When it comes to emotions, what was one of the biggest emotions you faced, like in your career? Everyone has, you know what I mean? Like, I think it kind of reflects your lifestyle in a way too. Like, for me, like I can be indulgent, the meaning like it can make me over leverage at times or take levels I probably shouldn't take. And I know there's a lot of people that kind of struggle with patience. What was like one of your biggest emotions that you faced?
Emotions that I'll face. Uh, I think, I'm like any other person, like losing money, losing significant amounts of money, definitely, it hurts. But I think an advantage I have in terms of emotions that I found that most people don't have is that I'm able to like zoom out and take a longer term view on things and understand that, markets ebb and flow. My performance might ebb and flow sometimes, and not to really take one day, whether it's super successful or super unsuccessful, to heart. Realize that it's all just another day of experience, just taking another step. So being able to zoom out and just stay calm, whether it's a really good day or a really bad day, being able to mellow out is, I think, one of the bigger emotional
Yeah,
tools I have that helps me trade.
for sure. I think a lot of people get this feeling that you kind of master yourself in a sense, but I think you just get better at knowing your triggers and understanding like when you should step away. Would you like agree with that? Because I don't think you ever can get over emotions, but you can get good enough at identifying and analyzing your emotions, kind of like a stock chart. I think a lot of people
Yeah,
get this misconception of like traders are profitable traders are like superheroes, but I don't think that's the case at all.
no, it's not true at all. I think, like, for example, if I take a big loss, it definitely like it stings, and I don't feel great, but I can identify that at this point, and I'm able to sort of separate me from my emotions. And over time, throughout the day, it'll dwindle, and I always look forward to the next day, whether today was good or bad. That's just another opportunity. So I know I'm not going to give up. So, but my emotions and like the pain from my emotions eventually will give up. So
Hmm.
I can outlast that and get to the next day.
That's true. Um, so I think also as a beginner and obviously, as traders with experience, you were gonna remember that one specific win and that one specific loss. I kind of want to touch up onto the loss more, where you just remember it. Like, that's like the only loss that you really remember feeling very down and out. When you took your, like, that loss that I'm speaking of, like, did you ever want to give up? Like, did it make you want to, like, I don't know, like, some people go to extreme lengths. Like, how did it make you feel?
Um, well, whenever someone asks me about like my most significant loss, I always tell them about the time that I was trading SPX at the time. And, it wasn't that I got the trade idea wrong or my prediction was just off. It's just over time it started to like work against me, and it was something totally new, so I didn't fully understand how to trade it, and I ended up taking a really really big loss. But I felt I felt like at that point in my trading career, it's time to like narrow down and just focus more on things that work and stay away from the things that don't. So it was more about identifying my strengths and my weaknesses, and sticking to my strengths, and instead of being someone that wants to try something new or trading something new every day, just stick with what works, and if it doesn't, it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, that's true. I also want to touch up on any advice like you have for beginners. Like I know a lot of beginners, especially the ones I talk to on a regular basis. I kind of think I was this way too. You kind of get um, led or like funneled into the indexes, and you kind of like realize like, oh, trading the indexes is not the smartest thing. I know a lot of people dabble with futures. I find for me, I did not find any success in futures. Would you say like as a beginner, you should kind of veer away from the indexes and realize it's more of like a analyzation tool than it is a a tradable cash flow name?
Yeah, I know. I think SPY specifically is the most traded name when it comes to options. I don't like it because I think there's a lot more money in other names. I think there's a lot more movement, uh, potential to earn more in equities. And I do agree that it's useful as like an analytical tool to compare your other names to instead of trading just like the indexes. But yeah, I indexes sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But I find more success trading equities for sure.
Yeah. When it comes to strategy as well, like when you were first introduced to trading, did you kind of stick with the strategy you had, or did you kind of bounce around until you found something that actually worked and you stuck with it?
I think part of my success early on, part of my beginner's luck was finding PS60 early on. Uh, it just works. Like it worked when I first started trading, and it still works now. And to find something that find a system that consistently works in a field where names are always changing, equities, outside influence from like the Fed is always changing. To find a system that still works out all of that speaks to how robust it is. So I don't ever intend to change from PS60. And I was lucky in finding it early for sure.
For sure. Do you think when it comes to other trading systems, obviously, in my opinion, I think PS60 is one of the most underrated and not really talked about um, systems, and hopefully we both can, expand that and kind of bring more light to it. But when it comes to other trading systems, do you think, in my opinion, I think any general support and resistant system can be viable to being profitable? Do you find do you think you could find success in any type of strategy?
Yes. There's tons of strategies out there. I know there's people that can trade just by reading level two of a stock, and they're able to have that work for them. There's people who just, trade based off of, I think it's the 9 EMA I believe it's the 9 or something, but or they trade using the RSI. The point is that there's a lot of systems, and anyone should definitely stick to what works for them. It's possible that what works for me doesn't work for someone else for one reason or another. But for me, PS60 has definitely worked, and I think if you're consistent and you find a system that works for you, you should definitely stick to it.
That's true. So, what made you, obviously, you run Ascent and like you help people with trading, mentoring, and just, making sure that their financial goals are being met. What made you want that to start like being a mentor, like having that crave to like teach people how to trade? Like, did you ever think you'd get to that point of like teaching people, or what kind of like grew that flame in? Like you wanna, because I don't think everyone has that opportunity or has that. There's a lot of successful traders that are, I would say, ghost and definitely make millions and millions a year that are kind of, you know what I mean, like just they don't like talking to people. But obviously, I would say, and especially from learning from you and understanding like your process, just, overall you being a good friend, you definitely have given up money teaching people and like just kind of putting your focus towards more people than just kind of focusing on yourself. And sure, you could make more money, but what made you have that drive to like kind of like sit back and like actually help and teach people?
Yeah. Well, it all started, I think, a couple of years ago as I was in other groups. Whenever I found like a good measure of success, well, I would always get like swarmed with questions about what I was doing or how I was trading or what do I see in the markets or the charts that other people don't. So that was a big part of it. Another thing was that I was starting to think that a lot of trading groups and the trading community became a little predatory. I think the amount of money sometimes people charge for these things uh, is kind of ridiculous. And I understand having to raise prices based off of, increasing group size. That's fine, but
There's definitely
some
levels to it.
yeah, there's definitely levels, and some people seem a little predatory when it comes to trying to squeeze money out of curious beginners. And I know what it's like to start trading and not knowing much, so I'm definitely willing to help, and I'm definitely willing to be at a price that's a lot more realistic and accessible to most people. So I have a lot to offer in terms of knowledge, especially as a beginner, because I've been in those shoes and I'm not looking to like fleece any. So
That's true.
I'm glad people
I'll
appreciate
definitely
that.
have everything linked, your social wise. I did want to ask you this question. Do you think I'm one of your most successful students? No, I'm just kidding. Kind of.
Uh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, man, of course, not just for the trading, but just as someone that's your communication skills are top notch for sure.
I appreciate that. Okay. If you don't mind sharing what your biggest trading year was, if that's not something you're comfortable with, totally understand.
No, that's fine. That was actually this last year. This last year was remarkable for me, and I was able to. I feel like last year was the first year I was able to execute my system at 100% and have all cylinders firing and make maybe 95% the right move. My win rate was really good. I think it was close to 80%, and I was absolutely hitting, you know,
Your swings
there
are,
was never,
yeah,
I was hitting
crazy.
my swings, and I never felt like I had to hesitate about a trade. Whenever I felt like I made my criteria, it was just a green light go, and I took it, and most of them worked out really well. So I really like, feel like I turned the Jets on last year, and the results spoke for themselves.
So, can you go over the result number?
Yeah, I
If
think it
possible.
was close to 1.7.
That's insane. Um, yeah, hopefully that's me soon. Probably not anytime
Of
soon.
course,
um,
can't.
one thing, obviously not the people listening will understand or know yet. One thing I did admire about you, especially when it came to like the Q4 of 2024, you kind of like once you hit, I would say that uh 1.5 mil point, you kind of said like I'm gonna take my foot off the gas. Would you say like that comes from experience or just comes from like you know for that year you kind of hit that like you milked as much as you could from the stock market and it gave it to you and you kind of just didn't want to like you know put any more of that capital at risk, or was it more just like like you kind of wanted to hit that goal and then you kind of just didn't want to like risk losing like 1 million? Let's just say obviously you're not gonna, your risk management's too good for that, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, of course. I think when it gets to like those that target of like 1M and going over, it's more about preserving your capital. And sometimes what a lot of beginners find that have that beginner's luck is it doesn't last because they're looking to just capitalize and capitalize and capitalize, and then their size goes up until eventually they hit a really big pothole or a bad trade somewhere, and then it all blows up. So I'm definitely cognizant of the fact that while making money is hard, like preserving your capital can be equally as hard when it comes to trading. So there's times where I'm able to take my foot off the gas, and it was also good taking my foot off the gas because it gave me time to focus on other things like working on Ascent, which will also pay dividends in the future. So I'm able to know when I have to drive really hard and when I can relax a little bit
Mm.
and focus on other things.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions about day trading is the more you trade, the more money you'll make. I think, in my personal opinion, that as a beginner, I struggle with that a lot. But once you realize it's not about how many trades you take, but the quality of the setup you take. Did you ever have that point where you're kind of like thought you had to trade every day, and then now you're kind of like okay, you don't necessarily like you're looking for more of the quality of the setup versus
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. I mean, anyone that's traded with me in the mornings, they know I only take one, at the most two trades, but they're usually what I like to call the trade of the day because it has the most potential or it moves the most. So I definitely like to trade like a sniper. Only take one really good shot, two at most, and make my money that way. That's all I really need. Maybe there will swing on top if it looks good, but most of the time it's just one good trade, and I can go about my day and enjoy things without having to be glued to screens.
that's true. I find a lot more success with that as well. Another thing too that I think speaks highly of your name is as of right now, Ascent is more of a smaller private community, but most of those guys have been with you since you started back in 2021.
That is
Do you
true.
think that reflects a lot of like your teaching and like what you could provide to beginners?
Yeah, I think like some of these names, like you mentioned, have been with me for a while, and I think it just reflects one like the value there is, the value I have to provide. I'm always showing up every single day, sharing my sentiment, trading live, whatever I take, you can take. You hear everything I uh, I execute on, and then um, I'm not. It's a testament to the fact that I'm not here to fleece anyone or overcharge them, uh, or pretend to be something I'm not. I'm just here to provide a good trading community at a very reasonable price, and most people find success with it, and so they stay. And that's one thing I'm really happy about is that I have a lot of old names here that still trust me. So it's definitely true.
That's true. Do you think having a mentor to help guide you through the market versus kind of going into the market lone wolf without having any type of guidance is like would like if you had to compare which one's better, like what would you say is better?
Yeah. I'm not here to of course, this is going to sound biased because
No, no, I
I've
know.
always, yeah,
I think for me, when I first started, I kind of came into the market like not knowing anything, and honestly, I kind of was just doing random stuff for like the first 3 months, like kind of like trying to do it on my own. Like I put 25 bucks in Tesla, and I thought like, oh, I'm gonna, become a millionaire. But I think
right,
with anything in life, like especially like if you want to be a doctor, you can't just, put in a resume and be like, oh, I want to be a doctor. Like you got to go through an education system, go
yeah,
through like extensive, knowledge practices and whatnot. Like you have to learn from the best and people that have done it and like just, overall learn.
yeah, definitely. Just not even like from a biased point of view. I think it definitely would have helped me get up to speed even quicker if I had a mentor like that. But if you're someone new that uh wants wants like sort of a guided approach to the market, it definitely makes a lot of sense to have a mentorship. It would have helped me get up to speed a lot quicker.
Hmm. I think it
Having
saves you a
mentorships on
lot
how
of
to help someone else.
I think it saves you a lot of money because in the end, you're going to spend that money in the stock market by learning. Because I think,
Right.
you know, especially when you're new, you're going to lose money and like you're obviously going to learn from that lost money. So
Yeah.
in my
Point
opinion, it's
blank
always
period. Trading is just really hard to do on your own. So definitely makes sense to have guided
for sure.
guided approach.
So as we come to a close, what is your goal going forward for this year, the future? What is kind of your overall goal?
I think I think I definitely want to reach out to more people and help them trade the markets. I know plenty of people in real life that are sort of on the fence. Like they want to approach the markets, they want to trade, be an active participant, but it's very daunting to them. And I understand their reluctance. So I would say if the more people that can help become active market participants, especially from a ground level. So not knowing anything about how to trade, not knowing what a broker is, et cetera, and get them to a point where they can proficiently take trades themselves. I think that would be my ultimate goal for this year, and to really grow and set out in that regard.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time. definitely very a lot of knowledge, and hopefully a lot of people learn from this. I will link Ascent as well for people that are gonna watch this. I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, of course.